What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Weekly Cheddar. Jason Maker with you guys. God's sakes, I hate this stupid mic sometimes. We're back Thursday night. I thought we were going to do Friday this coming week. Something came up for Friday. We are back on Thursday. I know Clayton's stream is still going on, so it might take some time for folks to trickle in from there. Fair enough. We'll be here for a while as long as chat wants us to be here. Talk some draft, talk some Packers. We've got, plenty of time, and we can kind of take this, of course, in any direction that we'd like to. We can talk about the debacle that was Monday Night Football, of course. We could move on from that and talk about, structurally, does something have to change defensively? Structurally, does something have to change offensively? Are we back on the are we ping-ponging with ourselves back to, let's take the QB, right? If available, there's a lot of options, right? And for those joining, Quay Walker video came out today. If you haven't checked that out, definitely do so later. That was fun to put together. I think Quay Walker is trending in the right direction. I really do. And I think that once he's back on the field, I think it obviously limits the question that I think a lot of people have at linebacker right now. Devondre Campbell, people are a little wishy-washy with how he has performed to this point this season. I know there's those rumblings a little bit on Twitter for the people I talk to a lot. They're like, is it time to talk about linebacker in the draft? And I think it is. I genuinely do think that is the case. I'm going to be bringing up a couple guys on the pod for tomorrow that will be a part of that. We can talk about them tonight, of course. One of them is on the thumbnail of this video. But, I think I'm pretty much on board with the linebacker deal. So I think, I think that it will happen in some capacity. Mitch, how's it going? Morgan, Sweat, and Spiller. My all reach, but I'm okay with it draft. Okay. Yeah, Jordan Morgan. It's a great one to bring up because I think it fits perfectly with how the Packers normally look at offensive tackle. And this is, I think, something we want to talk about because I know there's a lot of comments last week on last week's stream when we did the mock draft. It was like, why is Taliesin Fuaga not a pick there? Well, we could talk about that. It is a specific reason why, and we can get to that right now if we want to. We'll bring it up. I think I'm trying to think of who Spiller is off the top of my head, Mitch. Why it's not coming to me right now. As I'm going to the consensus big board, and I can't. I'm like trying to go through it in my head. Who it is that you're talking about? Please drop the third name for Spiller if you know it. I'm like my head's blanking. It just might be that kind of week. But Jordan Morgan, yes. Tavondre Sweat, we'll talk about really quick. Yeah, I mean, he 6'4", 362. I mean, what else is there to say? And he's rushing the passer at 6'4", 362. He's not coming off the field necessarily for Texas. They rotate in plenty of guys, and you'll see that in the playoff. But Tavondre Sweat, that's a big dude who is involved on all three downs when he is out there. How's it going, Chris? Good to see you. Welcome in on this lovely Thursday. But yeah, should we talk about Jordan Morgan and the tackles? I think that's a great place to start. And I kind of started with it. Why? Just not really thinking that Taliesin Fuaga is a pick for the Packers. It's just, I think, one, he's too big. They often, I gotcha. Yeah. CJ Spiller was from Clemson. I think you're thinking of Will Shipley, if that's who I believe that's who you're thinking of. Yeah, I think I'll bring this up because it's a perfect segue here because I did this before stream and I wanted to kind of talk about it for a second if we could, because I think it actually makes a ton of sense when you think about it. Let me see if I can quickly present and share. screen here. Window, entire window, this window, I think. Nope. I need screen. I need the screen. That's what I need to do. Hang on a second. But yeah, I think, yeah. So Will Shipley is interesting, right? I feel like it hasn't been his best year. It's been okay. But I think, if they get Morgan and Sweat, I'm definitely in on that. All right, let's see. There we go. There we go. Chris loves Sweat as well. Yeah. So okay. So this is kind of what I'm talking about right here. Okay. So we look at Goody's picks at tackle and offensive line since 2018. I took out Jake Hansen and I took out who else I take out? Josh Myers, because those were true centers. We're not going to count there. I want to look at like, okay, they've taken tackles who have moved to guard, and that's a lot of these players right here, right? But when you look at it up and down the board, you can see, I think there are some things that should stick out to you, right? Sean Ryan was a little bit of an outlier at 321, but he was a really, really good athlete who was still there in the third round. So they pounced on that, right? If you look elsewhere, look at the weight of the tackles and guards here. And Elton Jenkins, wherever you want to place Elton Jenkins, right? Zach Tom, 304. Rasheed Walker, 313. Newman, 310. Van Lanen, 305. Runyon, 306. Stepaniak, 313. Madison, 313. Nelton Jenkins, 310. They've gone a little bit lighter traditionally, and we've seen that. So, for a player like Jordan Morgan, who's listed at 320, he might not be 320. He might be more in the teens. I think it makes perfect sense. When you look at Fuaga, who could be anywhere from 325 to 335, I think that's sort of the range you're looking at. Just doesn't feel like that's the player they'd like. And I think the arm length is also potentially something to watch for, right? You have seen with a lot of these guys, though, the arm length isn't spectacular anywhere, right? Rasheed Walker, I think, is your leader in the clubhouse, besides Elton Jenkins, of course, who has played everywhere. But Rasheed Walker, 33 and 5/8 inch arms, like they haven't worried too much about arm length. But again, when you talk about Fuaga, one, he's a dominant run blocker over a pass blocker. He's not a bad pass blocker per se, right? I think he's quick. I think he's really good when he can get into that little quick jump set that he can get into, which is nice. And I like that a lot. But I think he is more dominant as the zone blocking, gap blocking, finish as a run blocker type. Whereas I think Green Bay, as we have often seen, and this is why the running game, a lot of people have questions every year, they prefer better pass blockers than they do run blockers. Sean Ryan definitely was in that camp. Zach Tom was 100% in that camp. Rasheed Walker, a little more balanced. Runyon was a better pass protector. And you look at Elton Jenkins, who was a really, really good pass protector back at Mississippi State. So you look at this sort of grouping here and you go, okay, let's go look at the prospects now. Who makes sense? If you're looking at this, and obviously we don't have all the testing numbers, right? You look at basically Walker didn't test, and I think Stepaniak didn't test. Madison was a little bit of an outlier with RAS, right? But everything else is in the elite range. So it's elite athletes. It's still 6'4" and above. If you see that there as well on the screen right here, 6'4", 6'5", 6'4", 4'4", 5'5", 4'4". They're going taller. So Troy Fontenot, I think, is still in play at 6'3.5" and 319. The question is, are the Packers going to view him as a tackle potentially? Because I think that's where he looks comfortable and flexible, hand setting, fighting for position, resetting the hands. Like I think he's just really good at dropping anchor, really good knee bender. Like you can tell it's not work for him as a pass blocker. But guys like Fuaga and J.C. Latham and Amarius Mims, who's at 340, I just don't see it. Right? Chris says Shipley doesn't have enough juice. Yeah, I think I mean, Shipley is an interesting case because I think if you look at 2022 Shipley, I think you're really excited about it. And again, that's something as well. If you want to talk about the Packers go that direction, right? You look at 2021 Wicks and 2021 Jaden Reed. Those guys were excellent. Tucker Kraft was really good in 2021. People were expecting the breakout in 22. They looked at those seasons. They were like, that's good enough for me. Shipley could be in that camp as well, where they go, okay, Shipley's 2021 season was better than 2022. We're going to bank on the fact that 2021 is the Will Shipley we believe he is. So, Mitch, I like the trio because I think Jordan Morgan, even though he's 320 listed there, I think he's still in that range where you go, yep, I think that's something that Green Bay would entertain. I got to find his height here. Let me quickly look at the board here. Looking for Jordan Morgan. I saw him 6'5". Yeah. I think even if he's not 6'5" flat, I think he will be 6'4" and change at the very least. So Jordan Morgan fits for sure. 5th-year senior. I have some Fuaga numbers here, 6'5" and a half, which is nice, but 328. He's just a little bit bigger, I think, than normally how the Packers look at tackle. Like you look at Olufashanu, right? 6'6", 323, not official. Joe Alt, 6'8", 317. That's what we're talking about right there. That is the kind of stuff we like to see. Patrick Paul from Houston, 6'7", 310. Yes, 100%. 100% in on that, right? So, where else could they go? I don't know. I think you look at maybe Kingsley Suamataia from Suamataia, I think, from BYU, 6'5", 325. He's pushing the limit a little bit at tackle. Yes, Mitch, the guy from BYU. He's pushing it a little bit in the weight category, but he is a redshirt sophomore. He's a young player. Maybe he can, again, I think he'll probably come in at 6'4" and change, hopefully, and maybe he's closer to 320 like Sean Ryan was. And maybe they go, okay, that's perfectly fine. We'll take that. Elsewhere, Tyler Guyton, 6'7", 315, but I don't know if they're going to like how – I just don't know if he moves well enough for them to consider him. So that's what you're looking at with tackle, and that's why I want to bring that up, because there were a lot of comments going, I want Fuaga at, pick 20 or 19 or wherever Green Bay picks. I don't think they're going to go that direction. I know it's early. I could be 100% wrong, right? But, I think that's often where you look at Green Bay, you look at what they prefer. Fuaga just doesn't really quite fall into that. So definitely wanted to bring that up just because I put that graphic together and I was thinking about before stream started. So Chris, that's the question, isn't it though? That's the question that we all want. We would love to have that answered. Don't we need to go a little thicker at offensive line, says Chris, and start run blocking better? Ideally, yes. Ideally, we're in the 320s at the guard position, and when we're looking for guys who can really push the pocket, or push the line of scrimmage resetters, right? All these guys who can displace these one techs, these nose tackles. That's great. I would like that. I think everybody would be on board with that. The question is are they going to do it? Right? Like I feel like they're not going to. Like Cooper Beebe, will he come in at 330? If he does, I feel like we're probably not going to be talking about him a lot. Right? Like that's where it's going to be. So if this is true about Fontenot being 6'3.5", 319, I still think he's probably in play, but maybe not in the first. I don't know. That's going to be the one that a lot of people like, and I'm going to be on board with it as well. And I just don't know if Green Bay is. You look at somebody, though, like, I want to bring up this guy's name because he's going to be a Mobile. Dominic Puny from Kansas. He's 6'4.25", 317. A little bit bigger, and Mitch, I will get to that question for sure. A little bit bigger, but ultimately, I believe he's got some. I got to go to premium stats on PFF. Hang on, chat. Give me 1 second. I want to bring this guy up because he is somebody who I thought made some sense for them. Yeah, because he's got tackle experience. He's played tackle and guard. He played left tackle this year. He played left guard mostly last year. So really, really tremendous pass blocking season at left tackle for Kansas. Had a 91 overall grade. Gave up just 8 pressures this year in the Big 12. So I like that. I think he's going to get, though, looks at tackle and at guard down in Mobile. So that's a name I would keep an eye on for day 2, maybe more middle rounds, 3rd, 4th round for Green Bay, just because I think there's a lot that fits there in terms of offensive line. Because I do think this is something they're going to have to fix, right? I think they're not going to stick with, okay, let's keep rotating things at left tackle. Let's keep rotating things at right guard. It's like, okay, We gotta go get this thing fixed. Let's get the O line right so we don't have performances like Monday night, performances like they had against. I'm trying to think of what their worst game was. It's just been a long season. The ping ponging with themselves in terms of play has been really, really strange. Obviously, Vegas wasn't very good. Trying to remember if Minnesota was very good either. I feel like it was not. The first Detroit game was not good either. So they're gonna have to fix that, no doubt about it. Do they keep Bakhtiari? Says Mitch. It's such a big cap number. If they trade him and someone's willing to take on some of the money, then I think they'd consider it. I don't know. Bakhtiari seemed kind of hyped, after either was the Lions game or the Chiefs game, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm excited to be back next season. Like this is a good team. Like this is a team I want to be a part of." I don't know. I think they probably keep him. I'm just trying to figure out who's going to be the suitor for Bakhtiari besides the Jets, of course. And I just don't know. I mean, the Jets could maybe give away more picks, but I just don't think the Jets should be doing that. First of all, they got to realize that they can't be doing this, even though they're probably going after Devontae Adams. But I just don't know who's going to like that injury history. The limited amount of time that Bakhtiari has played in the last few seasons. Like, I don't think there's going to be any takers, and I'm not sure they're going to move on with all that dead cap, but we'll see. Chris, I'm with you. Goody has to take notice of this season's performance. The issue is right, like right now, teams don't respect Jordan Love. Teams respected Rodgers because they're like, oh, we got to back off. Like, we'll blitz him at some point and man up. But we got to back off because we know that like he can hit the big plays, right? The explosives are going to come at a big clip if we do not have guys back. With Jordan, it's a little bit different. Now, he has generated big plays, but he hasn't done enough consistently where teams go, yeah, we're fine. We'll back up. We'll let you run the ball. They're not going to do that. They're not going to let us run the ball. Devondre Campbell took the money and kind of cashed out. I mean, he's still, I think, a leader for this team on defense. It just was a point where like he's close to 30, if I'm not mistaken. And at some point, like it just like he peaked for a season and a half. Like he still last year, I think, was still pretty good. But there's a point where you kind of lose the step, and that's kind of it. And that might have just happened for Campbell. He's been a heck of a player for the past couple seasons, but it's just at some point, like I still think he's pushing 30, if I'm not mistaken. There's just a point where it kind of just it starts to go, and it's different for everybody, but it just could be time for Campbell. So Lee, welcome in. Hello. There should be a left tackle for our first round value, no matter where we land, right? I don't know. If you go to see my issue is if you go to the consensus big board, right, on NFLmockdraftdatabase.com, great place to go look for stuff because it's how guys appear in mock drafts. Obviously, it's not where the league has everything, right? The media is always well behind the league. That includes us, even those that are kind of paying attention. We're still well behind. I think the media is soon going to catch up to the fact that Jaden Daniels might be ahead of Williams and May on some teams' boards, not both, but one of them. I think we could see that. But if you look at what they have at offensive tackle right now, Alton Fashanu, they're probably going top 7. Like, I just don't think they're going to maybe top 8, but like there's so much in terms of like the amount of teams that need offensive line help right now is astronomically high. They're just not going to sit there and pass on 2 blue chippers. It gets interesting after that because Lee, I think Latham, Mims, and Fuaga, they're all kind of right tackles. Graham Barton from Duke has an issue, I think, with the length where it goes, okay, well, now I don't know. For Dane Brugler right now, Graham Barton is center 1. He is not even a tackle. He's not listed as a guard in rankings for some. He is listed as a center. Fontenot, Suamataia, Paul, and Morgan are probably the left tackles we're looking for. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to see. It might not fall perfectly at tackle where then Green Bay will say, okay, well, we got to kind of force the issue here, right? We may value this guy in the 30s or early 40s, right? It may be at the Jets pick in the second round, but we got to take him now because it's tackle and it matters a lot, right? So I think the Fontenot is worked into that first round conversation. I think Patrick Paul will start working back into that first round conversation, especially if he dominates down in Mobile and he shows off a little more flexibility, just loose agility. If he can show a little bit more of that, then I think you have something here to where he could rise into the first. At least as an honor off a roster, I doubt he sees more than a couple of games. I assume that means Bakhtiari. Yeah, it's probably going to be the case. I just don't know. I just don't think they're gonna see a lot of takers. Like if you top of your head, who should be targeting a player like this? I mean, I get a team in a contending window, sure, but like how many games are you getting out of him? And that's what teams are gonna ask themselves. Or they're gonna ask themselves, how many games can we get out of Bakhtiari? Probably a few, if we're lucky. And we should probably be playing on grass if possible, right? That kind of screams Miami a little bit, right? They're playing on grass down there. It could make sense, but again, they're playing at MetLife every year. Ugh. Sure, Bakhtiari doesn't love that, but that would be the team because I just think they're not really set at a lot of places along the offensive line. But are they going to give up premium picks for that? I don't know, right? Mitch says I think they keep him, meaning Bakhtiari, of course, improve he's healthy, then evaluate whether they want to keep Bakhtiari and maybe increase his value since they owe him $19 million no matter what. Yeah, they're going to buy their time. They're not going to. Again, it could very possibly be to the point where, and Mitch, this is a really good point as well. But yeah, it could leak into the summer, right? It could very much leak into the summer, and even as you point out, into the fall. If a team loses a tackle next season due to injury, Green Bay could eventually unload him in summer or fall, right? I think that's entirely possible. If you're telling me that, like, okay, Kansas City drafts a tackle, okay, to play with Jawan Taylor. Let's say they do that, and they lose Jawan Taylor, and they're like, all right, well, let's go get Bakhtiari. Or the Ravens lose Ronnie Stanley and go, let's get Bakhtiari because I think he can help us protect Lamar. And it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Maybe Dallas would do it. I mean, Philly would be definitely a team that would just go, yeah, we need him for a run later in the season. I think that's possible. Yeah, if summer or fall, I think is very much in play if Green Bay hangs on to him. Hi, Jake. Hey, Brian. How we doing? How about if we swap first rounders with the Jets and give them Bach? That would be great. I think they would want. Trying to think who they would want for a first round pick swap right now. I mean, if they've seen the play of if they've seen Watson and they've seen Rodgers play with Watson, the Jets go like, all right, well, if you give us Rasheed Walker, Christian Watson, and a 2, maybe we'll swap first round picks. Like there's going to be, it's a lot to swap first rounders this year with the Jets. It's going to be like 19 and like Green Bay's still at 19, I think. Where are the Jets right now? They're 7. 19 to 7 is a pretty big swap in terms of value right now. And yeah, it's going to cost a lot more than Bakhtiari for that. I really believe that. So yeah, they'd be have to kick in some other things in there. Jake, how's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Green and Gold Draft Report. Hello, how you doing? The D-Bach potential, if healthy, is worth far more than anything they'll receive in a trade. That's the other part of this, right? Where a team comes with a trade-off and they're like, yeah, we'll give you like a 4th. I really question they're going to get a 3rd for him because of the injury history. Because when he plays, he's quite good. He's still quite good. The question is as we've discussed, how many games are you going to get? Well, if Green Bay can rest him up, and they keep, if they have to load manage, which is a strange thing to do at left tackle, they could do that if they draft one and they've got enough depth where they go, okay, it's crunch time, we need him. Like the rookie's it's not going well. They have a rookie, Rasheed, and they've got Bakhtiari. Like they have a lot there, right? Having Bakhtiari out there, just be like, okay, well, we're at Philly this week, right? Say it's the 2024 postseason. We're at Philly. Need you. Like, let's get it done. And I think it's a really, really, really good point. So, do you think Barry playing soft coverage is the part of the reason why we're not getting more sacks? I don't think so, because I think the soft coverage, and you say soft, more so quarters, 2, cover 4, cover 6, cover 3, like ideally, you're dropping a lot of guys to where the quarterback is going through the progressions, right? Maybe he's going 1, 2, 3 and then check down, or 1, 2 and then check down. You want to make things last long enough in those progressions that by the time you have a pass rush that gets there, he can't get to that check down, or he can't get to that last read that's kind of the bailout option. So I don't think that's the reason why. I think in the Giant game, legitimately, I think rush lanes were the problem. They let him escape. I think the defense, and I haven't gone through the film, I'll be honest, trying to work through some other stuff for the draft pod and other things. Anyway, it's not important. You don't care about that. That I think, like, when you probably go watch the film, you're going to see, like, okay, coverage is good. Why is our rush lane discipline so bad? And I think part of it is, I know Devontae Wyatt plays out of control, but I think he was pushing the pocket well. The PFF grades say he had a phenomenal game. I didn't maybe quite see a phenomenal game, but he was definitely getting to the point where he was pushing the pocket. The problem is you had your edge rushers freelancing a little bit, where they're working inside. They're not staying outside, or they're not staying engaged to the point where they can go, okay, I can go whichever way. If he's going to try and slip through the middle, I can make the play. Right? I haven't gotten too far upfield, or I haven't gotten in the wrong gap where I can't, contain on the outside. The rush lanes were honestly disgraceful. That's why he had so many. I mean, that's why he got out of the pocket and got big gains and picked him up in scramble drills. Like, that was the one thing where, if you watch other games where he's getting sacked, you don't see teams out of position as bad as they were. And so now you go back to, okay, is the coaching telling you to, is your coach or your defensive line coach, your defensive coordinator, who's telling you to freelance? Are you doing it on your own? If you're doing it on your own, what are you doing? Like, part of this defense is exactly what I said. It's like, make the quarterback hang on long enough to where, there's just not a lot of space to throw. We're working through progressions and the guys are getting there. Guys got there last night. I think there were probably pressures. I'm sure the pressure numbers are fine. The problem is you got guys jumping inside. You got guys rushing way too far around the arc, and you're losing any part of contain that you should have. It was like the one thing where you go, okay, just don't let this guy get out of the pocket. And I think we're going to have, oh man, I don't want to have this discussion already, but like, think about, we made DeVito look good because we kind of just like didn't play disciplined, right? Are we going to let Bryce Young figure it out? Are we going to be the team that lets Bryce Young figure it out and this Panthers team figure it out? Boy, I hope not. But, it's possible. Brian W. says dumping Bach is more about freeing up $21.5 million on the cap. Yeah, I get that. Just to me, 2024 Green Bay, I'm not quite sure is going to be where the Niners are right now, where the Eagles are right now, where the Cowboys are right now. I think they're going to be a step up. I think if everything works out with Love and everything like that, I think you can see the vision of, like, all right, this is the first step was this year. Second step is make the playoffs, right? They may be ahead of schedule, make the playoffs this year. Next year is win a playoff game. You can win a playoff game in the NFC, right? The NFC is not going to suddenly become the AFC in a year. Next year, you get to a playoff game, you win one, right? And I think you're playing for 2025 to the point where, okay, now 2025, we can spend, we can make some moves that we need to fill some holes that we want to, make this defense gel, or we got to get this, final piece on the offensive line. We need the center. Josh Myers didn't work out. We're going to figure that out. Or we need a guard. We need some guard depth. We'll figure it out here. Or we need some edge depth. Let's get some more. And they'll be able to spend in that window rather than worrying about spending next year when they're probably not going to be doing it anyway. So I get the freeing up money on the cap, but also, like, I don't think 24 is where Gutekunst, even though he did this in 19, he's not gonna start firing chips in next offseason. He's not gonna fire chips in free agency. Now, he could bring some guys back, but it's not gonna be at like these, okay, I'm gonna make a big spend here for a player. So I don't think you have to necessarily get rid of Bakhtiari for that, because I just don't think they're in the window of like a Philly next year. I don't think they will be. But I get what you're saying about freeing up cap, and I know Chris is agreeing with you on that. Lee, I agree. Rush lanes and angles were terrible. It's like watching a cartoon. It was. It was just it's hard to and I get it. And so people are backing Joe Barry, and that's fine. That's totally cool. Like I understand that Barry is darned if he does, darned if he doesn't last night, where you're playing soft coverage. The problem is they have 2 timeouts. Like they can march down the field like that. But if you man up and a guy makes a mistake, that's what happens. I get that. At the same time, I don't know where Barry's coaching and the position coaches are coming in and going, okay, I don't know if anyone said this. Is anybody going in the second half even? As the second half begins, are they like, all right, listen, we gave up a scramble play to DeVito. We can't do that anymore. I get you guys want to make a play. I get you guys want to make something happen. The best thing for us right now to make something happen is to make sure that darn quarterback isn't getting out of the pocket and pick up 8 yards, pick up 12 yards, pick up 15 yards because he scrambled and our coverage is dropping and helping us out. You guys aren't finishing for what we are setting you up for. I don't know how that conversation did not happen. That would have been the first thing I asked in a presser. I don't know if Barry had to answer that in a presser. I don't know if LaFleur had to answer that in a presser. They should have had to answer it. I don't get that. I don't understand why the rush lanes were that bad. I don't know if they were like overconfident and thinking that they could just freelance because it was Tommy DeVito. Didn't work. So better not do that to Baker. Better not do that to Bryce. Better not do that to Fields. If they do the Fields, they're losing the game in week 18. They're going to lose the game if you do that to someone like Justin Fields. So this is end of rant, but like goodness sakes, it was horrendous. That cannot happen again. If that happens again and nobody asks Barry about it, I've had it. I've absolutely had it. So and yeah, Chris, this is it. They did. It's embarrassing. You do not lose to a team like that. And I get it. It's the NFL and guys are going to show up. And there are players on that defense for the Giants that I like. And I think they did and I think Martindale did a nice job sometimes where he sent some pressure and was able to drop a guy like Thibodeau into some windows to kind of confuse Love or make him get to different reads. I think Martindale did a nice job. I think they adjusted pretty well in the second half to the point where they were winning the game right towards the end. The problem is the defense can't be doing this. We can't be making DeVito look like Kaepernick. It cannot happen. It cannot happen. And I get what the scheme is supposed to be. But at some point, you need to be good tacklers. You need to set a strong edge. You need to have gaps filled, right? If you're cracking, you better replace all of these principles that are very simple that they're just not taking care of. And that's just tough it's tough to watch. All right. Sorry. Chris, Rashawn Gary is overrated. 2 games with 3 sacks in each, 3 across the remaining 11. I get the sack thing. I understand what you're saying. My thing is I'm going to go to the edge stuff right now, and I'm not just grades. I want to just check and see where we're at in terms of pressures this year for Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary is currently T23 in pressures. And he has a lot less snaps than the top guys. And I get that the pressure thing is not the same, but to me, this is how I view pressures. I'm going to try and put it in some way that makes more sense, right? I think pressures to me is, I think the offensive version of going for it on 4th in plus territory. The numbers say it's good. The process of going for it is good. There are times when you're going for 2 or you're doing this that you should be doing it. And people are going to look at the result base and go, what the heck's going on? Right? They're going to look at the result and they're not going to like the result, even though the process was good. To me, that's sort of sacks, because my issue with sacks, and this is something as well that I think, if you guys want to check this out, if you got some money, if you want to throw some the way, Brandon Thorne on Twitter, you can find him, charts sacks. And we look at low quality, medium quality, and high quality sacks. And I think even lower than lower quality is like a coverage sack. There are guys who have a lot of sacks, and that's great. But how are they getting them? Right? That's the biggest thing to me. How are you getting some of your sacks? Are you doing it? And this is a fine way to look at it as well, Chris. He's got 3 sacks in a couple games, right? Which is fine. And he's maybe maybe you go, okay, he's not showing up in other games. But who are his 3 sack games against? Did he have so he had I see 2 against the Giants. Oh no, sorry. 3 against Detroit, 3 against New Orleans. I'd say the 3 against Detroit was a big deal. Detroit's got good O-line. 3 against New Orleans, you could maybe argue not, but I think at least 1 was on the right tackle who's way better. Like I said, I think it's hard because I get it. Right? He has I see am I in the right year? I am. He has 10 sacks. I see 10 sacks, not 9. But anyway, right? Like you have to look at how the sacks are coming about. If you're getting a sack because the quarterback is leaving the pocket and you just kind of jump into that window and you've made the play, well, you didn't really win your rush. It's just because the quarterback kind of runs into you. That's why sacks often are not an offensive line stat anymore. And I think we figured that out, right? Where their quarterbacks are causing sacks on their own. And that's why sack rate has become really interesting for QBs to measure. So there's a lot that goes into it, right? I think you could go to Gary's 10 sacks and be like, okay, well, maybe some of these are high quality, some of these are low quality. And you go, okay, I want more high quality sacks. That's fair. And if you bring that to me next week, let's talk about that. To me, I still think Gary is extremely good. And he has, if I go back to this, like, again, he has 44 pressures on the year on how many pass rush snaps are we looking at? 284. Okay. So put that in. So 44 on 284. Okay. Just remember that 284. Okay. Because Danielle Hunter has 58 pressures, 14 more pressures on 473 pass rush snaps. That is almost 200 more. So, you're getting Max Crosby. Now, Crosby's doing really well. I think the pressure rate's extremely good, right? He is 503 snaps, but he's got 72 pressures. Okay. Micah Parsons has 408 and he's got 82. Like, those are really good, but you definitely have some guys in here who have a lot of snaps that are going to lead to that. Right. And I think that is something where, it's, and this is another good point, I think, as well. Right. There are times where you're getting help. And now, counter argument, of course, can you beat, double teams? Can you beat the chip help? Can you beat the quote unquote 1.5 team, right? Where you have tight end kind of in the way, or you get a running back in the way, and you like, okay, well, how do I combat that? That's also fair. I think, it's definitely something to look at. But when you look at guys who on this list, like Demarcus Lawrence has about the same. Demarcus Lawrence has 4 more snaps as a pass rusher than Gary this year, and he's got less pressures than him. Like, that's a big name. Like, Thibodeau's got a lot of sacks this year, and I get that, and that's really fun. Like, I think he's got 13. His quality of sacks are not that good. I'm very worried about Kayvon Thibodeau that he's having a Vic Beasley season. If you know who Vic Beasley is, he is the king of, like, okay, low quality sacks, had a 5-sack game against a bad New Orleans team that year, all that stuff. So I get that. Is 15.5% the sack rate, or is that the pressure rate? I assume that's pressure rate, right? Oh, is this the number? No, I gotta find the number. Trying to find it while we're talking about it. Pass rush productivity. Okay, found it. All right, let's catch up on some of these. Brian says, "What are your thoughts on Jair Alexander?" It seems like the media's, yeah. I some people are going to care about the weird persona he's throwing out. I don't. I think it's hilarious. I think he's having a great time, and I think he wants to be out there and play. I don't think he's sitting there like, oh yeah, I'm so excited to be sitting down. He is not that guy. He loves to be competing. So I don't the Jair stuff, the people who are kind of just going out of their way to like find somebody to attack. I think it was like last week. I ain't worried about it. It doesn't bother me that much. So Adam, at least you get the scheme because Barry doesn't seem to. I don't think I have the ins and outs. Like, if you ask me to make a game plan for next week, I don't think I have any chance. But there's something to the point where, like, okay, there's some things you have to fix. And like, fundamentally, we are in December. Things that should be happening in September and not December. And this isn't even the first year in the scheme with Barry. And a lot of these guys are, they've been here. So There's Joy. Was the wind that strong for Love? I don't know. There was one throw Dusty Evely shared, and it looked like it was pretty windy. But I think ultimately, like, again, guys are going to deal with wind. The interception was weird. The wide throw for Wicks, weird. I think it's a footwork thing. I think he gets a little lax with his footwork, and that's kind of where you see some of the misses. Just got to clean that up. Got to clean that up. So, couple plays it did, but he was not. Yeah, he was definitely off. And like I said, I think it was a footwork thing. I really do. I'm not sure that. It just seems like he kind of is comfortable getting into like bad footwork, arm angled throws, and he's trending to Stafford territory where he goes, okay, why are you even doing that? But for Stafford, it's like, okay, why are you doing that? But it's sick. It looks great. You're completing the pass. Like, I don't know how you're doing this. With Love, it's kind of like, okay, you're doing this and you're not succeeding enough to the point where you should keep doing this, at least at the clip he's doing it. Just need more in rhythm throws. Just be on time with the hits, with the footwork, get everything centered and balanced when you're throwing the football. It feels simpler than we think. Lee, I think this is fair. Gary and Clark are non-factors way too often. Clark, especially, he's had some spurts of late, which is good to see finally as we get into the stretch run. But yeah, I don't think it's quite the same, right? Gary's 21 was exceptional. Got hurt last year. This year it's good. I mean, if you're looking at 2020, Gary had 12 sacks. Like we're well on pace for 12 sacks. But Gary had 87 pressures in 2021. That's insane. That's a really good number. I don't know, 15.5%. Like I said, I don't know what that number is. If we go to like pass rush productivity, Rashawn Gary's goes up to 18th in pass rush productivity rate for PFF. So he jumps a little bit. He's ahead of TJ Watt in pass rush productivity, if that matters to anybody. Tied with Khalil Mack. Don't know if that matters. If you take minimum pass rushes up to like 20, I think 20%, he's now tied for 11th in pass rush productivity. That's just for 20% of like minimum pass rush of like 483 or whatever it is of like the top number. So, I mean, his pass rush productivity is fine. The numbers look fine. Okay, 15.5% pressure rate. What's that? Do you have that relative to the others, Chris? I know I'm trying to do it at the same time, but I want to get to everybody's stuff as well. If we want to get like next week, if we want to get in all the nitty gritty of Gary's stuff, I'll even go through Gary's sacks and let's see what they are for next week. Like I'll put a film together and look at Gary's sacks if you guys are interested in that. Yeah, Ja did play hurt this year. Like I think, yeah, I'm not going to be the person questioning Jair Alexander. I won't. And sure is part of that because I really love the pick at the time and I've enjoyed watching him play. Sure, but also like we know when he's talented. I get that he doesn't, isn't the best help in the run game. Like I get it, but and dude competes his butt off. So Antonio says, "Will Love ever have 1,000-yard receiver who doesn't get hurt?" It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Malik Neighbors wouldn't get hurt. Just saying, bringing a stud or something like that. No, I don't know. I think that, yeah, I mean, it does stink. The injuries have not helped this team. It was nice to see Wicks was at practice day. I can't believe that we said on Monday. But yeah, I know Watson's been hurt a lot. Reed's been banged up here and there. Obviously, I feel like Reed's going to be fine. I think he's going to go again this week. Would love to see him get more involved in not the jet sweep game. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I think he'll have 1,000-yard receivers. Injuries are tough. There's part of like the injury history thing that plays into the draft process and like, okay, like this was a problem in college, it's a problem in the pros, but there are just so many examples of like not a problem in the pros and then a problem that not a problem in the pros when it was a problem in college. And there's plenty of times where it was like, oh wow, this guy's been super healthy in college, no problems, and then he's had like bad injuries his entire career. Like it happens. Adam says hanging with Rodgers too much for Love with his mechanics. Yep, 100%. Okay, Adam and Chris are both in the neighbors hive. Obviously, can I throw out a neighbors take for you guys really quick? So I'll be releasing Big Board. I wanted to release it in November, but I've just been so far behind. Neighbors is going to be in the top 3 of my big board in January for sure. For sure. He'll be in the top 3. I genuinely, you could probably talk me into putting him at 1. Like number 1 player in the draft. I could be talked into that. I could be talked into it and have no problem doing it. And I know, crazy, above MHJ, above the QBs, above Bowers. Dude's unreal. It's just there's something about physically and athletically all the gifts that he has. And if he works his butt off to refine his game, it is going to be insane. He's already so good at figuring things out in real time, in zone coverage, and then obviously just taking advantage of stuff after the catch, right? Like he's already got that component of a Debo game where like Debo's work against zone and his yak per reception is just absurd for a guy with who has some low targets and ADOT. Neighbors is the same way. Neighbors can win down the field above the rim, all that stuff. He's so good. He's so good. So there you go. Yeah. Oh, Lee, really quick. Anyone see that ball Love threw behind Wicks on the DPI was the win that bad? Yeah, it looked like it was. It looked like the ball got taken away because I know Dusty Evely, I think that's the one he shared on Twitter. I don't know if it was today. It might have been yesterday. He shares it on Twitter, and it's like, yeah, that was legitimately, that looked like the wind just shoved that thing back to the middle of the field. I don't know if it was doing that for all of his throws, to be honest. Like I said, I haven't seen the film from this week yet. But to me, that one, it seemed like was just wow. Like it must have been a sudden gust, which is really unfortunate, but like, wow, insane. Mitch says Neighbors, he's going top 10, maybe Corley. No, yeah, Neighbors is going top 10. I'm just saying. I wouldn't be mad if Green Bay goes, yeah, we'll move up, take a little trip up the board, right? Walk ourselves up there and pick a guy like that. No, yeah, he's going top 10. He's probably going top 7. Like I right now, the 2 QBs, maybe the 3rd QB. Let's throw Daniels in there. MHJ, Neighbors, Fashanu, Alt, Bowers feel like a top 8 right now. And then maybe a defender squeezes its way in there before one of those 8 guys, but just feels like that's where we're headed. But yeah, Corley's interesting. I feel like he and fun little nugget here for all of those on the channel who follow some of the draft stuff, who have always followed some of the draft stuff. I know Mitch has for a lot of the draft videos I post. First film room for 2024 draft prospects is going to be Malachi Corley, wide receiver from Western Kentucky. Dude's a stud. I like it. I like what I see from him. There is a skill set that already can contribute, but there's so much refinement that I think he needs to get into in terms of pre-catch stuff. Like the pre-catch phase, I think needs some work. But you look at the last 2 seasons with him, 101 catches for 1,282 yards, 11 touchdowns. 2023, 75 catches, 959 yards, 11 touchdowns again. His 2022 is super good, by the way. If you want to go just watch 2022, first off, he dropped 1 pass or something last year. It was insane. But dude just runs people over after the catch, can erase some angles after the catch. He's got really good zone feel as well. Like I feel like there's a lot that Reed's doing that he's probably just would be stuck behind. Right? I'd prefer a perimeter guy if we're being honest. But man, Corley's nice. Corley's a nice player. Adam, I got bad news, man. I got bad news about Malik Neighbors. You know what? I'll bring this up just because it's fun. Let's bring it up. Where am I? I don't know where I am anymore. Let's go to this just for kicks because I know, I just want to look at it for a second. Okay, so I wrote this on Monday, this mock draft, and yeah, it's just bad news. It's bad news. It's the Bears taking him. I just think they're going to be in the spot if they don't stick here. If they don't stick here and pick the QB at 1, to me, I think they're comfortable with their line that they would 100% go out and get Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and find a defensive player. I think that would be my guess right now for Chicago if they stick with Fields. Obviously, if they don't, I think they go QB and defensive player to me. But that's I figured I'd show that just because Adam was talking about not being a Bear. Yeah, it's tough. The Caleb and Neighbors show. Listen, I would absolutely hate it in Chicago, right? But those two playing together, like objectively, would be sick. Those two playing together would objectively be insanely cool. And it would just suck that it's in navy and orange. It would just suck. But hey, there's only one team that can do that. Right? So yeah. That would suck if they didn't go defensive player. But I think right now they're like, oh, man, I closed the window. I was like, I gotta close some tabs. I had so many tabs open. Chicago picks, they pick 1 and 5 right now. Shoot. Yeah, that might not be in the range where you go, oh yes, we need a defensive player. Freak. Yeah, because you can see it right now. If they stick there and they pick Caleb, it's like, well, yeah, you're gonna go get another. You're gonna go get a more souped up DJ Moore, in Malik Neighbors to pair with DJ Moore for Caleb. Like, yeah, it makes sense. It sucks. Yeah. Yeah, Adam, I'm with you. I would love them to keep Fields, not because again, I know I'm like on my own with the Packernet guys. I still think Fields can be good. I just don't think there's a point where you go, okay, this is going to be the most precise passer you've ever seen. He's just not going to be that. But he has insanely good velocity where he can thread the needle on some where he's confident in doing so. We've seen the deep ball be really good, but like there are things that you can take advantage of. And in terms of like locking on to who he's locking onto, like we saw Quay Walker do it in week 1. Like there are times where you can lock on and force some interceptions, force some turnovers. His turnover rate's gotten better over the last 3 weeks. That might be due for a regression. So same with the sack rate, but like would I rather have Chicago have like, and again, as a believer in Fields, would I rather have Chicago have Fields or would I rather have them Caleb? Like to me, like it's not even close. I would rather Chicago not take Caleb. Thank you. But yeah, that's just me anyway. Yeah, Adam, I agree. Stupid Carolina, they can't win a game. At least as even Chicago can't mess up this draft. You would think not. You would think they couldn't, but it's possible that they would. Mitch says Mitchell or Coleman will be bigger wide receivers who can move. Yeah, I mean Coleman, I've soured a little bit on recently because I just think the consistency, pre-catch, the consistency post-catch, like he's elusive post-catch. It's nice. Like I think that phase is okay. I expected more catch point wins from him. His catch point is contested win rate this year is not that great. Like Odunze's better, Neighbors is better. Like you would not imagine him being lower on the list in terms of like winning contested balls, but he has. So I'm kind of out on Coleman a little bit right now, to be honest. I think I have Xavier Legette higher than him. Probably chance I have Ibuka higher. Potentially I have Worthy higher than him. Coleman's giving off the vibes that I don't like right now. The more I watch him, he's giving me the alarm bell that's going off that went off for Treylon Burks and that went off for QJ last year. Just the alarm bells where I'm like, okay, this athlete is really good, but like there's something here that I don't like, and I don't know why. This is an interesting take on Malik Neighbors. Reminds me of Pickens and Claypool. See, my issue with that is like Claypool was not good at football. I don't know why people liked him. I did not like him at all. Pickens to me was such a vertical playing guy where he wasn't a really good post catch player to me. But that's fair. That's fair. If that's what Malik minds you of, that's fair. I just don't think either of those two players, of Pickens or Claypool. And again, if it's a like personality thing with you, that's totally fine. To me, like the skill set isn't even close. With these two compared to Neighbors at all. But anyway, it's fair. It's fair. Again, we're not everybody's going to agree. Yeah, the right situation. This is yeah, if Adams has agreed. I think Fields is fine in the right situation, just never be an elite passer. Yeah, I don't think he will. I think those of us who really liked him in the draft wanted him to be so, because you saw the time he had and what he could do when he could let it rip with a lot of time. Just got comfortable with too much time, and you see that sack rate go up because of it. Um, yeah, I think they need an offensive coordinator change in Chicago as well. There's way too much going on that's not very good. Uh, could he thrive in Atlanta? I think so. If they really let like things kind of cook the way they should cook in Atlanta, I think Seattle could absolutely make it work if they got better on the offensive line. Like I think Seattle could absolutely work. Run, 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 chuck the ball down the field to lock it and to lock it to DK. Let JSN win over the middle of the field for you. Let him be kind of a safety net player. Let JSN win deep a few times. He's shown he can do that. So I think Seattle and Atlanta are two really, really nice places where Fields could hone it and really, really elevate potentially an offense in spurts at the very least. Yeah, I'm here as well. Rather Fields in the mystery box. Yeah, I'm just again, I Caleb and May feel like really, really good prospects. Are they both going to pan out? Maybe not. Um, but like if whichever one does, oh boy, I think they're going to be good. Yeah, I get this. I get this. It's very weird, and I understand the throwing motion is not the it's not the nicest. It's not. Yeah, I don't like it. I really don't like it. I agree. It's weird. I love him as a runner even more than Lamar. Yeah, he's just faster and he's got a bigger build, right? He's got the frame where he can kind of take some contact on. Now that's going to get him hurt later in his career, to me. But I think, you look at Lamar's elusiveness, that's insane. But Fields has straight line speed and at impressive size as well. But if Coleman runs a sub 7.3 cone, I will not be able to be in. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I like I said, I like him. I don't love him. I like him. He'll be like my guess. And again, I've gone through the Florida State's entire season already, minus the Louisville game on offense, but their flashes look really good where he's like, okay, I'm working into blind spots. I'm breaking off routes really crisp at the right times. I look fluid as a player. I'm adjusting well. I'm winning above the rim. Like I'm giving myself advantageous situations, even though I can would just win with size. Like I'm actually like doing the work to make sure that it's not really a 50-50 ball. He's elusive. He's explosive. He feels very complimentary in a nice way. But like I think Kalen Carson kind of exposed him a little bit of like, okay, he needs to work on being more combative with his hands at the line of scrimmage and in the stem. Two things that he has not mastered at all. That has to be better. And I think I truthfully like I probably at this point have Drake London graded higher than Keon Coleman. I liked London a lot. But yeah, he'll be an interesting one to monitor through the process. Adam also said Chicago OC clearly doesn't trust Fields. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I don't know if I don't trust him enough to keep running screens against Minnesota. That was really strange, but yeah, I isn't Mitch says isn't Neighbors kind of a hybrid wide receiver running back, run after catch guy? Yes, but I think so. No, I don't think he's a running back because I don't think he doesn't have Debo build, right? I think when you look at, he is still like Debo's such a dense player, and I'm gonna check Neighbors' numbers. Yeah, 6'2" 200 is what Neighbors is at right now, and I think to me like he um so for his game for me right now, what I see someone who has explosive twitch and spades, which I think helps him off the line of scrimmage. Now his stems get way too wide, right? When he's working into said stem off of the release. I think that's the one thing, but what I love about him is that even if he gets wide, he's still like when he's running vertical routes, he's back on plane where he needs to be relative to where he started, which is really nice. Generates some good spots for him to make plays at the catch point. And he has Great catch point feel, great catch instincts, adjustment skills, body control, explosive leaping skills. It looks so good, right? And he won, let me look at the contested win rate. He won 10 of 21 contested balls, which I think is really good. And Keon Coleman, if I remember correctly, it's so 10 of 21, right? You look at that number, you go, okay, that's not bad. Coleman won 10 of 30 contested balls, 10 of 30. Neighbors wins 10 of 21. Did not expect that from Coleman. Really strange. So to me, Neighbors, again, and the other thing with Neighbors is squaring up after the catch, great field vision, obviously the explosiveness, the angle of racing speed, the curvilinear track speed where you see that just he's gliding. So he is an exceptional run after catch player. I think you need to be exceptional run after catch player to almost reach some of that elite ceiling. You look at what AJ Brown does. I feel like that's in that vein as well. There's some Debo into him with how good he is in the field with zone coverage. There are guys who come in the league who are just absolute garbage. They run their routes into defenders because that's what the route tells them. They don't make in route adjustments. Neighbors will make those in route adjustments for you. I love what Neighbors does. But yes, the route running portion of STEM work must get better. But the ceiling is higher than Harrison's. It is. That's why I wouldn't argue putting him at number 1 on the board. Like overall, would not argue it. There's Joy. Speaking of straight line speed, do not mind getting Troy Franklin. He's there in the early third. Troy Franklin's got a lot of speed. He's got great route tempo. Love the route tempo that he flashes. My worry about Troy Franklin is what happens with contact and confrontation at the catch point. It just doesn't feel like he has the grip strength, the size, the frame to handle hits at the catch point. He loses a lot of those battles. That's the one concern I have with Franklin. Otherwise, like route running skill set, like I already said, route tempo is really good. Like he's got a lot to like, but that catch point stuff where he just feels like it's, ooh, can he survive? Not sure. That's the only thing I'm worried about. So yeah, I agree. He is more than a vertical threat. I'm worried about contact. That's all. Adam says, don't recall your thoughts on the Tennessee tackle Chicago took. I thought he was overdrafted a bit. I will say the one thing about Darnell Wright that I think maybe was overlooked a little bit is it felt like his hand placement at contact looked more consistent than guys like Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones, two guys who always, it felt like, had wide hands. They were always kind of like looking to catch with a bear hug rather than we're in here tight. Skoronski was really good at being low, good leverage at contact with your hands, good punch where it needs to be struck. The other guys look like they're catching you, right? And Darnell Wright didn't quite have that. There was some of that mixed in, but I think Wright was fine. Was it a little overdrafted? I think by consensus, yeah. Ultimately, though, getting a tackle, it's one of those positions where you feel like, okay, well, is it too early? A little? Fine. Don't care. Like it doesn't quite matter. Adam, do you get any official height weights pre-combine? There are some because I know some folks. RisenDraft.com/database has some already. They have it. If you follow me on Twitter, message me and I'll send you that link. There are some, but otherwise, like Senior Bowl, you'll get some, right? And then obviously you get some combine. But there are some official measurements from like last year that people get, and they sometimes send them to me, or they'll just put them on that database, and I can let you know on that. Zachary Smith, how we doing, my man? How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. We'll have to have you on some of these things down the stretch for the draft, bud, because it's we're getting to that time where people are tuning in. Here's what he says. I prefer receivers who are dense enough, but also loose enough to bounce off tackles. Brandon Marshall, AJ Green, Julio. Yeah, I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. is in that mold. I think Rome Odunze is in that mold as well. He's 6'3", 215, right? That'll play. So I get that. But when you see a player as effective, as violent and quick and efficient a mover, guy with great leaping ability, great run after catch skills because he's so dynamic and violent when he cuts. That player like Garrett Wilson, who I just talked about, when he's 183, I don't really care because he's done all of the work to create for himself in a route runner, create for himself at the catch point, and create for himself after the catch. He's very good to elite in all three things. So your height's a little, I don't care. Like those are the things where like you break it down into three phases of the game. How good are they in those three phases? If you got a good two-phase player, that's nice, right? That'll get you the AJ Greens, right? Where he's super, super good. He's good pre-catch, good at the catch point. Julio was he was a different beast. Julio is not, there aren't many of those guys. Brandon Marshall's a good one, though. I like that. Mason, that's funny. Found this channel today. Really smart guy. Mason, when are you going to get back on the pod, brother? When are we going to have you back on the pod? That's a real question for you. Uno reverse. Boom. Well, I appreciate that, Air Joy. That's nice. I appreciate that. I would not say so. I say Brian Maffey is really good at branching the Packers in the draft. But you know, that's much appreciated. This is Chris. This isn't real, right? This is not real. Shut up. 42-0. Oh my gosh, it is. So, did you guys enjoy the Brandon Staley era? Did we enjoy that? Did we enjoy bullying him into stop going for it on fourth? I did not enjoy that part. The collapse against the Jaguars was pretty wild, though. That's insane. 42-0. Golly. Wish I had the Raiders defensive fantasy, man, this week. Dang. I do not. That's wild, though. Antonio says, is Benson from Florida State worth a first? I think he's 225 with 4.3 speed. I don't know if the 4.3 speed is verified, but I will say he is big and he is fast. He's got the burst and long speed to generate those big plays. I still wouldn't say he's quite like a, what am I thinking of here? He's not quite like a Breece Hall where I go, yeah, I'm in on the first. I think I'm in on the top 50 with a player like that. Where is he at? He is he's listed at 6'1", 215 on this database. He might be big. I feel like he's bigger than that. 40 estimated times in the mid 4.4s. If he runs 4.3, might be getting to that top 40 area. So he's 21 right now. He'll be 21 at draft time. He'll be 22 over the summer in training camp. Yeah, I mean, it's very possible, Antonio, that Benson is the first running back picked. I think a lot depends on Braylon Allen, who by the way, Braylon Allen declared, right? He's declared for the draft. He is still 19, by the way. So yeah, he turns 20 in late January. So that's kind of insane to me. Those two probably, I think Audric Estime is going to get in that mix, right? At 6', 228. Just depends on, again, what he runs, but he was elusive this year. He was phenomenal. So I think those two are probably going to lead the way with a lot of the talk, especially if Travion Henderson is in fact going back to school. There hasn't been anything on that's been confirmed. There have been reports. I'm not sure. Raheem Sanders was a lot of people's favorites. They liked him a lot. I think he had a great season last year, but he's staying and he's transferring to South Carolina. Jonathan Brooks from Texas, if he declares as a redshirt sophomore, he'll be in that mix too. But I think you'll see a lot of the bigs, right, in the two Michigan guys. If Edwards doesn't go back, Corum's going to go, I think, to the draft. And then you have Bucky Irving from Oregon. There's a lot of guys in there, but I do think it probably starts with Allen, Benson, especially if Henderson does go back. So I like Benson a lot. He has not locked into anything. The running back rankings, to me, there's a lot I want to look at. There are some follows who would do a lot of stuff with the running back position and then that go into way deeper metrics than just like rushing yards over expectation that I follow and I trust. But yeah, I think we've cooled on Braylon Allen because it was a weird like transition year in terms of scheme. So yeah, Adam. Yeah, if you message me on Twitter and you want that link, I will send you that link for sure. Just message me on Twitter. I will send you that. Okay. Oh yeah, for the larger stature receiver. Yeah, I think it's nice to have it's nice to have looser, flexible athletes for bigger guys. And I think Coleman's still in that realm, but Romo Dunze is definitely in that realm, right? And has is dense like that. Like Franklin's obviously a little more slight in terms of frame, but I do think, you know, he it's I still Coleman's just going to be an interesting case because you got guys like Xavier Legette is like 6'3", 227, and he's going to run insanely fast. And people are like, "Wow, look, another DK." And it's like, maybe, maybe. Um, Adam says, "Please keep Brandon Staley the heck away from Green Bay." Yeah, he's in the same boat as Joe Barry, where it's like he doesn't quite, I think, have. It's hard to say because I don't think Derwin James has played really well. So he might have better personnel to make things happen in Green Bay. However, I don't think it's going to be like an upgrade. I think it'll be very much a lateral move. Even though I still liked that idea a little bit, just because I think he's had better defenses. But he's had some bad ones too. So it might be a lateral move to this point. Mason, we'll see about the spring. Sending letters and resumes is such of a break. Seems like a one NFL contact is more risk. Okay. That's not ideal. One NFL contact, not after. Oh man. No, we need that info. Hopefully. Oh, he's in the chart. I see. I see. Okay. I see what you're saying. Well, hopefully they'll stick. Hopefully they'll stick in the organization. Chris N says, "Who do you like to replace Barry?" That's a great question. If Bill Belichick is available, I'm not opposed to the idea of that. It just means you're going to have to get better players for like man coverage. You're going to have to get some talented safeties in there. But I love that idea. I know Mike McDonald from Baltimore is not going to come over and make a lateral move. He's awesome though. If Saleh gets fired, sign me up because I think he's still in that type of tree a little bit. There's still some things where he kind of he's still kind of Saleh's still kind of a back seven guy that's like, yeah, we'll stick with our back seven and we'll eat you alive up front. He's got good linebacker play. I think Green Bay I still think we're on that train, right? Of like, let's draft another linebacker in Green Bay. So I'd like Saleh if he gets fired. I don't think he is. I don't know. It's a tough call. I'd have to dig into some position coaches and to make an official statement on this. So I'm not going to make anything official other than like if Saleh gets fired, Saleh and Belichick if he wants it, right? Adam says Goot's going to love Allen. Oh yeah, I agree. He's like 6'2", 240. Mitch says he's seen mocks where Braylon Allen goes in the late third. Yeah, the running backs aren't coming off, at least with the consensus right now, where you traditionally see some of the top guys. Green and Gold's draft board says yes, Allen declared. Yeah, he did. He's my number one running back. Size and traits transfer the best. Dane Brugler pointed out that his tempo as a runner is really good, and I think that just comes from being cognitive, right? It's such a fast pace, being cognitive and to the point where you have anticipatory reactionary skill set that is so good because of how you recognize blocking schemes and especially the reaction speed, right? Where the reaction speed almost makes it look like anticipatory speed with your cognitive skill set on film. Braylon Allen can do that. And Brugler has commented on the tempo as a rusher where he's just got great feel. And I think that's really what feel actually is. So I think we can't write Braylon Allen off. We cannot definitely not write him off. He is too talented to just kind of like throw him out the rug, which I think there's some sites that are having pretty low. Brian W says Benson and Estime would be so much fun. I agree. Whew. Benson and Estime. I like that a lot. I'm fine with Benson, Estime, Allen, two of those three. I'll take it any day of the week. Adam Huddle says Rome is going to be a 10 out of 10 Packers, quote unquote, wide receiver. Yeah, no, he's going to fit a lot of the metrics. He's going to be a really, really good athlete. He's going to be explosive, quick, pretty fast. I think he'll run fine. I don't think the number will be overwhelmingly fast. Let me see what this estimate here is. 4.46. Yeah, that sounds about right. for an estimate here on the database. Yeah, I like that. 4.46 at 6'3", 11 to 215. That sounds about right, and that's really good. But he'll fit. He'll fit a lot of their metrics. Brian W says PFF has Allen at number 131 overall. Seems kind of low, to be honest. And I get it. There's a lot of people who are maybe when they look at Braylon Allen, they're looking at a couple games from last year and most of it from this year where the Wisconsin offense just did not have it. There was not a lot of synergy going on offensively, and it just didn't. It's not like the scheme where Allen does well. They're bringing in more vertical looks. They're bringing in stuff from North Carolina where they did a lot with Sam Howell, and that's just not where Braylon Allen really thrives. I'd rather have Stanley than Barry. Or Staley, says Adam, but don't really want either one. Yeah, I think it's maybe it's just a slight upgrade, but it's not to the point where you go, oh, wow, look at that big step up. It looks more lateral when you zoom out for the optics. But, and Adam also says solid fire emoji. Yeah, Chris agrees. Solid, that'd be amazing. I think so, because I think he would have that room gravitate to him. And I think the players like Barry, I think they would love Saleh. I really do. I do think that Saleh has that ability to just gravitate people to him, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I'm sure Zach Wilson and him aren't like on the best terms per se, but like you can tell that defense battles for Saleh. Adam says, go do what Baltimore did and get a smart young dude from college, maybe an ex-Wisconsin guy. Yeah, there's some young guys. It's just hard because I think when you look at defensive coordinators, and Ben Solak from The Ringer does a great job, he points this out. He's like, when you look at those guys, I think you need to see, the experience of being a defensive coordinator in the league is really, really good because you've seen a lot of things, and then you tailor your scheme to a lot of what teams are doing. And what, you look at Lou Anarumo in Cincinnati. What did he have to do a lot down that Super Bowl stretch against Kansas City? And then he kind of did some of that against Allen and the Bills last year as well. And even in the Kansas City game, again, in the championship game where he's dropping 8, he's getting a lot of guys into these windows and making you march down the field. But he can also go cover 1 on you because he did a lot of different things, and he was really successful at it. This year, they haven't been as successful. They've given up a lot of explosive plays. I don't know. The personnel on the back end at safety and the youth in the secondary might be a cause of that. I haven't really dove in, but you can tell that like he's been around. He knows what he needs to be doing. That's why it's harder to find like younger coaches who really are really just innovative. You don't see that innovation per se. You see it a little in you see like little nuggets of innovation, but there's just at some point like you have to have an answer for a lot of different things. If you don't, you're going to look good against some and bad against others. That's kind of what Barry's at right now. Here's Joy says, the question with bigger receivers who have some density is if they can break down well enough. Yeah, it's if you find a big dude who's very smooth and very efficient, not such a plotter through route break transitions, right? That transitional quickness matters. How quick can they transition into a runner? How elusive can they be? That's why a lot of those guys go high, right? Like it's hard to find a lot of those players. So sometimes the smalls, can you figure out if the smalls can work? I think he, guys like, I'm trying to think of who I'm thinking of here, but like I film room tomorrow, by the way, on Demario Douglas from Liberty. Explosive, quick, great route runner. He's built well enough. He's 5'8", 194, 192, something like that, and to handle contact. And you can get guys like that. Those guys are never going to be receiver 1s, but they build out a room. And then you find that alpha, that dog in the room, that A.J. Brown, that CeeDee Lamb, who can kind of work in 3 phases, right? Has a really good understanding of coverage, does so much well, and then you've built the room. And I think that's where Green Bay's at, to me, at least a little bit. Maybe Wicks becomes that guy, but Wicks to me still has the ceiling where it's like, okay, he's going to be a nice route runner. He's going to do well at the catch point. Like, he's not going to be dominant post catch, but like he can rip him off if there's space that you kind of left him. Reed's really nice because you can slot Z gadget him, and there's so much he can do well. Watson to me feels kind of in that area, but with some catch point wins and some prowess there. Like he's doing better there. They don't have that. They don't have the dude where it's like, okay, and you don't have to get into the mindset of like, we need to spam this guy often in a game. But you watch the Cowboys do it with Lamb. You watch the Rams do it with Kupp so much. And you're like, we would like the alpha, please. And I don't think Green Bay has that totally. I think they can survive with what they have, but it'd be nice to have an alpha. Airjoy says I was into EQ and Lazard a bit too. Yeah, phenomenal blockers, good size. I think EQ was smooth, but he wasn't exceptional in terms of route running. The route process wasn't exceptional. He was smooth enough to work against zone coverage where you can move him in the slot. Lazard was a great ball winner, right? Who could uncover himself a little bit at times, but he just wasn't exceptionally dynamic in short spaces. Brian W says, if Dennis Allen is fired in New Orleans, would you like him as D coordinator? I don't know if does Dennis Allen run. I feel like Allen. He probably does a lot of middle field close stuff, right? A lot of 1, a lot of 3. I don't. This might be off the top of my head, and this might be totally wrong. Maybe. I'd have to look at the track record of Allen. Like I said, if we let go of Barry, I'm going to be excited to kind of do a series here on YouTube where I'll look at a lot of the DCs and look at a lot of the head coaches that were DCs that got fired and just take a look at okay, what do they do? Can this work with the personnel? I think it'd be a fun series to do. But that's if Barry gets fired, of course. I'd have to look more into Dennis Allen. He's had some good defenses for sure. Like New Orleans has definitely been carried by it once Breeze retired. But yeah. Airjoy, I like this. I think balance is a really underrated trait in receivers. I think there's so much that goes into athleticism that we don't take into account because sometimes we just think athletes are athletes and it's that's, cool. He's just a freak physically. And it's well, yeah, but he's coordinated, right? Like you said, balance is really good. We talk about adjustment skill set and slow and changing pace and all this stuff where you're these are high level athletes playing the position. All the physical stuff is still underrated. A lot of it is. And balance, I think, is a really, really good one, right? After the catch, right? Can you fight your way through contact? Can you, in an awkward spot, right, have the control, have that balance, even sort of have an equilibrium in air where you feel like you're not out of control and you can get feet down, right? You can contort your body and still look smooth landing and making tough catches. There's so much that goes into it. So that's why I love the receiver position. It's my favorite that I get to dive into every year. Adam says he's heard sub 440 for Odunze. That'd be insane. There's Joy. The more balanced capability, the more ability to experiment, making guys miss, tackle, shedding. Yeah. There's so much that, again, post catch, if you watch really good players with footwork, right, they'll kind of be able to set defenders up. Garrett Wilson kind of leaps sometimes at the catch point because he's kind of setting himself for an explosive landing to cut where he wants to go post catch. Yeah, I think there's so much that goes into the yards after catch game that we don't even not necessarily look at all the time. And that's what I try to do with a lot of the receiver film room breakdowns that I can do. I will say, again, I said I'm doing Malachi Corley. I'm going to do Troy Franklin. I'm going to do Rome Odunze for sure. I'll probably do both Texas guys, right? Worthy and Adonai Mitchell. Should they both be in? Like I said, I can't do Big Ten or SEC. I'll probably do some Coleman potentially as well. Take a look at him because I think he's going to be, like I said, a pretty a divisive player. I may look at a little bit of Tez Walker from North Carolina, who, by the way, I'm just go watch Tez Walker and tell me you don't see Christian Watson. Just tell me you don't see that. Okay, go watch Tez Walker from North Carolina. Just tell me you don't see a little Watson in the game. Green and Gold Draft Report says, Jake, you hit it on target with Allen needs to be lined up behind the QB, read inside outside zone concept. Yeah, the Allen and shotgun to me, no, thank you. Unless you've got really good zone stuff from gun run, which even still, I'm not still thrilled about that idea. I like Allen building up 2, 3, 4 steps of steam and being able to, again, read stuff out, anticipate, react, everything that goes into the cognitive process against zone, and then use all of that pent up potential energy right in those 3, 4 steps and show off the taillight, show off the burst once you've found where you need to be. That's the type of scheme that Allen needs to be in. I can't wait to see where he lands. Green Bay would be really fun. I think it'd be a really nice one. Is there a Kamara type running back in this draft with that renowned balance? That's a good question. I like that. Is there a Kamara type? boy, they're just guys that don't. There's not many guys where you go, wow, they got that Kamara type balance. Everybody tries to make somebody like that, and it just doesn't happen very often. That type of balance. Trying to think of a guy where that's it's really exceptional. I don't know if I quite see one. There's a couple guys that could fit the bill. I got to watch more film on them, but I'm not going to throw out names necessarily. I will say Bucky Irving from Oregon has that elusiveness to him, which is really rare, right? Like, especially as a space player, like that level of elusiveness is super, super it's going to be coveted. It's going to be like, oh, wow, this is like James White times 20. And they're going to look at that and be like, okay, runs crisp routes. First man is not bringing him down because he's not going to be able to tackle him in space. It's not going to happen. So I think that's the type of player in terms of elusiveness. I don't know. I'll let you know. I'm going to keep that question in the back pocket, and see if we find a Kamara type in terms of that exceptional balance. Brian W says, I wonder about L. Harris for D coordinator DB in Dallas. I'm rocking for him. Boy, wouldn't that be something, huh? Al Davis, Al Davis, idiot. Nice. Really good brain up here. Yeah, Al Harris. No, I think that'd be really cool. Would love to know. It'd be fun to be in the D coordinator, like, interviews and meetings. Like, I think, it'd be cool to see what he says, how he wants the defense to be. I would love to hear his thoughts on that. Only about Adam Huddle says only about 5 to 7 of those big and quick Packers types receivers per draft. Yeah, you're just not going to get that. Like last draft, it was just the draft of the smalls, right? Like that was very, very strange, right? We're not going to see that again. There's a lot of bigs, right? Harrison 6'3", 6'4", 205. Coleman 6'3", 6'4", 215. Neighbors will be about that 6 foot 200. He'll be a little smaller. Ibuka, same thing, 6.5 maybe 200, 205. Adunze's bigger, right? 6'3", 211. Brian Thomas will be in that 6'3", 205-ish range, something like that. Xavier Legette will be 6'3", 227. He'll be really rocked up, really dense athlete playmaker. Obviously, you have Johnny Wilson, who's like 6'7", probably 6'6"-ish, 235, 237. There's some big dudes in this class, no doubt about it. Which is exciting, right? You get it's cool to have players like that in the class. But yeah, there'll be some smalls though too, right? Like Xavier Worthy's small. He'll weigh maybe sub 170. He's a little bit taller though. He's more of Devontae Smith with the height, but he will be smaller. Brian says Ayers Joy Trey Benson has great contact balance. He does. It's good. He's really good at squaring up. Oh, I think Travion Henderson has really good balance because he's so good at dipping his shoulders and staying with really good center of gravity at contact. I like that. I think Mitch, darn it, Mitch, we're right there, man. Mitch, we were right there. Man. Love that. Yeah, because I think Henderson does a really nice job of, like I said, the center of gravity he has at contact is really, really good. I think that's one of the best things about him and I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's contact balance right there. Is he quite Kamara where like you can see him being dragged down and he just feels like so flexible and loose? Probably not. He won't have that level of flexibility because again, Kamara is it's a one of one in terms of flexibility mixed with balance. But Henderson's really good at contact, at finishing runs, dropping the pads, doing everything he needs to fight through linebacker tackles, DB tackles. I think that's good. That's a good Henderson, Portez, Kamara. I like that. But yeah, Brian, Benson's definitely got some good contact balance. Adam, I agree with this. He says doesn't mean they will be a 1. See Watson, but their level of size and athlete is rare year. Yeah, and again, not everybody's going to be right. The guys I mentioned, not all of them will be good, but there will be guys that just have that size and athleticism mixed into just a really refined player that with a lot of ceiling still in the back pocket, and you're going to get a really, really good play. Like there's probably not going to be a bad receiver class ever again. Like even last year, like we were like, oh, this might be a bad one. Then you got Puka Nacua and Tank Dell just dominating. You have the first rounders except for Quentin Johnston. They're coming along well. So I still think it's all said and done. It's probably gonna be a good class. Like Jaden Reed and Wicks are playing very well right now. Downs is playing fine, right? Like there are plenty of guys. So yeah, We won't have a bad class. DC Jesse Minter that's an interesting one. I like this from Green and Gold Draft Report. Don't forget to look into him. Yeah, the college stuff will be interesting because I do have some Michigan defense I can look at. And I would love to see how he is set up defensively. Yeah, that'll be a good one to work in. I like that one. We'll keep that in the back pocket. Jesse Minter, Dennis Allen. We'll take a look at some of those guys for sure. Mitch says, I know I brought him up before, but in my opinion, getting Tavondre Sweat would be the biggest difference maker of any player in the draft for these Packers. I remember BJ Raj and Gilbert Brown. Yeah. This is good because I think there was a lot of talk, on the Packernet Facebook page about Mozzie Smith and about Siaki Ika, right? Like Tavondre Sweat might be a teardrop from guys like Vita Vea, perhaps, but he is very impactful if you can get him, on a 5-man defensive line. Like that's going to be valuable for sure. You can get guys to flank him like a Clark, like a Wyatt, like a Brooks. Like that'll be really, really nice. Will they do it? I don't know. I think they for some reason I feel like they'll like the flashes they've seen with Slayton. They'll be like, I don't think so. And I do think, I mean, if Mozzie Smith can go in the first, and I like Mozzie Smith, I think Tavondre can go in the first for sure. I think we'll be talking about him a lot down the way as a first round player. At the very least, Tavondre Sweat, a top 50, top 40. Ayers Joy says Kraft could be our version of QJ in that yards after catch sense. He almost made that second dude miss in the Giants game. Yeah, he shedded that tackle real nice. Again, Kraft, good balance, good contact balance player, pretty good elusiveness, right? Remember that the guy he leapt in the Charger game where you're like, oh man, that was nearly a touchdown. Like he came into South Dakota State as a running back. He still has that level of elusiveness. Just let the man cook for a little bit. Let him simmer. Right? It's a tough position to acclimate to. And we'll get there. And also Airjoy says, still love Musgrave's game. They'll love them both. Yes. I think we're in a great position at tight end. Would that prevent me from drafting a Brock Bowers if we were on the board? Maybe not. But yeah, I like where we're at with Musgrave Kraft. It looks really good. I'm really glad that they grabbed 2 of the top 6 consensus at the position. I think it's going to pay off. And we're already seeing those glimpses. Musgrave, I think he just Ayers Joy, I think you brought this up or commented when I brought it up in the film room for Musgrave earlier this year. It was like, he's got quicks. He's got explosiveness out of the stance. He's just not playing within himself in terms of control and balance. And it can be there in terms of inline stuff, at least at the level of where you're taking on smaller edge guys, you're getting to linebackers, right? That type of thing for him can still work. Just got to refine it a little bit, play within himself a little bit more. Kraft just needs to kind of unleash a little. There are times certainly where Kraft gets over his skis, right? And you've seen that with him lunging as well. But I think Kraft, sometimes you just kind of got to let it loose a little. And I think he's going to. I'm thrilled with these guys. Brian W says, you nailed it on Tez Walker. Wow. Make sure Doc McKenzie checks his hammies. Legitimately, just go. I'm dead serious. Just go watch Tez Walker play right now. Like, genuinely. Just go watch him play and you go, oh, wow, the route break transitions aren't very good. But he's really fast, right? He's such a long strider. He's got a thinner frame. He can win some catch point. That's who the player is. That's who Tez Walker is, at least stylistically. That's who he is. It's the truth. Yeah, Kraft was so close to making the play of the game. He's oh man, Tucker Kraft was my favorite pick of the draft for the Packers. He was my favorite one, and I'm just glowing. He's awesome. He's awesome. We did get great tight ends. Ben Sims is doing some stuff too. Yeah, I agree. I think the tight end room looks really good right now. Tyler Davis comes back. There's a little more inline help there. It looks good. The tight end room looks really good. And if they want to be in 12 more, I'm fine with that. If they want to be in 11, you know what I'm saying. Watson, Wicks, Reed. Those are the starters in 11, period. Yeah. Run Jammer, I heard Sweat is going to test well. No, yeah, I think we're looking at, like I said, I think you're looking at a step down from a Vea, from a Jordan Davis. I think you're going to be really close, right? That next tier is going to be Trevondre Sweat. And if you think he's going to test well for his size, I mean, that athleticism at that 6'4", 362, that's going round one. Someone will do it. Like, I do think, like, the way the Bengals play on defense, if you look at their two defensive tackles, Reeder and Hill, they're big. At least Reeder's big. Hill is a little bit smaller. I'm trying to remember if Hill is sub 200 or sub 300 if he's 310. But anyway, if they let Reeder walk, like, Hill and Sweat make perfect sense for the Bengals as a pairing. Like, it's really good. I agree. I think he's 3 downs. I think he's shown a little as a pass rusher. The pad level is maybe the one question a little bit as a rusher, but he can generate a ton of power, which is nice. I think his teammate. Let's Can I do this really quick? I'm gonna bring this up one more time. I just want to put this out there really quick as well. Where is it? Yes, right here. Devondre Sweat's teammate. Okay, Byron Murphy. Yeah, he's got it, folks. I think you could legitimately tell me that Newton from Illinois and then Sweat and Murphy from Texas are the top 3 defensive linemen. Now, they're not really the same players, right? Positionally, Murphy and Newton are, and then you more 3-tech rushers, and then you have Sweat, who's the nose tackle. But, like, those guys are talented. I think Murphy works into the first round as well. I really like what he's done. He is what I think everybody wanted Leonard Taylor to become. I think he is it. He is explosive, powerful. He did a lot in that Oklahoma State game. I am going to be really excited to watch him in the playoff. So, and then I think I had, so I went 5 players I wanted to put in the first round, and Devondre Sweat was right here. He's one of them right here. Yeah, he could dominate down in Mobile. It's very possible, right? So, I just want to throw that out there because I think the Texas guys, like I said, are really, really good. And Adam says, instead of release the Fury Mitch, it's release Fury Tucker. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, so there you go, guys. This is good. When you guys are this good, it's very easy to go 2 hours. So I might lose my voice, but if anybody would love to update on the games going, I'm going to look it up and see. But if you want to update, that'd be sick as well. How bad is it? 49-7. Holy smokes. Jacoby Myers threw a touchdown pass? Shut up. Trey Tucker has 2 touchdowns? Goodness sakes. Oh, man. My Quentin Johnston take is not aging well, folks. I said to my dad, I said, Quentin Johnston in a chasing role could be catching like 120 yards tonight. That's not happening. I mean, he's got a quarter, but I don't think so. Palmer's got the touchdown. Yikes, that's not very good. Chris, thank you so much for the $2 dono. When are you going to more than one show a week? So here's the thing. So I put the poll out, and I'll let you guys. I put the poll out on the channel, right? Where you in the community tab, you can go look. There's a bunch of polls down there if you haven't voted on any of them yet. But I put out there what time is best for the NFL Draft Live, which will not be Packers centric. It'll be more draft centric, right? This will still be here for the Packers folks, but I'm going to make one for the draft where we're just specifically talking prospects, or maybe we're doing a mock draft live, or we're fixing a team and we're maybe talking some fits at a certain position. We're talking positionally, like we'll be doing all these different things. And the majority of you were like, let's do it on Monday. And I'm like, wait a minute. Well, do we want to skip Monday Night Football for a few weeks and like just do the show anyway? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, and I'm like, okay, well, we could do one on the 11th if we wanted to, but we're missing the Packer game. Do we want people to be watching this and the Packer game? Because that's a lot of, I mean, I'll be honest, right? I have like 1,500 whatever subscribers. There's a lot of you that are Packers guys. Like that's Packers folks. That's how it is. So I don't think a lot of you wanted to watch that while the Packers game is on. So I was like, okay, well, we can't do it that week. This coming Monday night, it could be a good game, Philly, Seattle, right? And then the next Monday's Christmas, and the next Monday's New Year's. So we might need to find a better day to do this. Maybe it's Tuesday. Maybe Tuesday's the way, and this will be on Friday, I promise. From now on. But something came up tomorrow night that I couldn't miss, so I had to do that. But soon, I am reaching out to some folks in the draft industry. to hopefully come on. I think it'll be really fun if we get a few of them. Like really like super exciting. Like who these people are. Um, so that's the hope. And then I have a really fun plan for April for draft month. I think that's going to be really cool. But yeah, we're going to get to the second show. If I put this, I should put the poll out again. I will. I'll put the poll out again and be like, okay, so you guys voted for Monday to be the other time for the live show for NFL Draft Live. But, if we want to do it like not during holiday days and Monday night football games, like come on. Like I get it, right? A lot of Packers fans here, right? Who's not going to be watching Ravens Niners Christmas night? Like that's a sick football game. First off. So I don't want to be here on NFL Draft Live and kind of missing that game and having you all miss that game. So maybe Tuesday's the option until the NFL season's done, till wildcard weekend ends, or, well, yeah, till wildcard weekend ends, and maybe that's when we shift it to Monday after that one. If that makes more sense, we go Tuesday until then, and then Monday, once wildcard weekend's Monday Night Football game is done, maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do Tuesday. I'll see what you guys said on the poll for the other choices, but we're getting there. We'll get there. At the very least, the new year. The very least. So we're working on it. We're working on it. Like I said, I have the intro done, right? It's going to be nice. I have the backgrounds done. I have all the stuff done for NFL Draft Live. It's just about when we start. So we're getting on that. But Chris, thank you for the dono. Brian W says Packers at 6 and 7, pick at 19. Bears at 5 and 8, we'll pick at 5. One gave out a top 5 pick, we'll be a playoff team. Crazy. Yeah, it's that kind of year. It's that kind of year where everybody's just kind of in a nice little bundle there, especially the NFC, where it's like you could be under 500 and you're in the playoffs. And the AFC has like what the 11th seed right now is 7 and 6, and then you have the 3 seed is 8 and 5. Nuts. And the 11th seed just beat the 3 seed, right? Crazy stuff entering week 15. Just absolutely insane. Mitch says, Jake, just thought you might want to break your positional videos into shorts. That way people random scoring. Yeah, I need to get back into the shorts game for sure. Yeah, I'll make some of the clips at least from the live shows into shorts. I think that's what I'm going to start doing, just so we have that. But yeah, I think shorts. I definitely need to get back on that. And yeah, I at the very least, I could do some shorts on some of Marvin Harrison Jr. Some guys I know I'm not breaking out film of for sure, just because can't. But yeah, I'll probably do that. That's good, Mitch. I appreciate you kind of pushing that. Savage Owens. Ayers Joy says Savage Owens or Anthony Johnson Jr. for third safety spot next year, because we'll need an upgrade next to Rudy Ford. Yeah, I think they should be extending Rudy Ford for one. Right now, Anthony Johnson Jr. is not. It doesn't look like he's ready for that third safety spot. I would lean. I think Savage. for the third spot. Rudy Ford, draft pick Savage. I like that. Oh, Adam says your final 4 right now. AFC, NFC. Oh, really quick. Brian W., thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you checking in, offering some questions. It was great to have you. Hopefully we'll see you next week and all the weeks beyond, and on the draft show as well, not just this Packers one. So thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate it. Adam says, again, so the final 4, NFC, AFC, final 2. So if I just say this now, I think San Francisco plays Dallas. I just think as long as Dallas, obviously Philly has an inside track to win out and still get the 2. Yeah, I still think if there's a way to get San Francisco playing Dallas, I think Dallas can get by the divisional round right now. I think they have enough talent to do so. Dak's playing really well. So I'll say San Francisco, Dallas, and I'll say Baltimore, Kansas City. I just think there's a way it gets really interesting. No, you know what? No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right now. It's just so I can say I nailed it. I'm going to say Buffalo and Baltimore. I'm calling it right now. Okay? I'm calling Buffalo and I'm calling Baltimore. Yeah. That's what we'll do. I think Buffalo can beat anyone in the AFC on any given day. Easily. No problem. They're better than the Browns. They're better than the Steelers, Colts, Broncos, all those nonchalant fools that are pretending that they're AFC contenders, blah, blah, blah. They just beat the Chiefs. They're better than the Jags right now. They're better than the Dolphins. I think they're going to beat them week 18. No problem. I think they're going to take care of business week 18 against Miami. They might even have a home playoff game, like Tony Romo said. I think that was so doable. I don't know why people didn't like that, but I'm going to go Baltimore, Buffalo, San Francisco, Dallas. I think that'd be an exceptional Final Four because the Eagles aren't in it. But yeah, Ayers Joy also says small glimpses in draft prospects cool for shorts. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I got to figure out how to do camera stuff and create shorts if I can do it on screen. I got to figure out how to do that. But I will figure it out. Chris says Savage needs a pay cut, though. Yeah, I think if he's safe, if he's not taking a pay cut, then I'll give it to Owens slightly over Anthony Johnson Jr. because I still think Johnson Jr. is necessarily ready yet. But if Savage takes the pay cut, he's safety 3 for sure. Yeah, Adam, I think they are. I don't like see the Ravens showed me that they can win a shootout game like that against the Rams, so I think are a very underrated team. I think if you ask the Rams to go to Detroit and win tomorrow, they can do it. No problem. No questions asked. Could they go beat Philly and Philly? I think so. Like I think the Rams are a good team. I'm glad that we played them without Stafford. So I think they're legitimate. Like they're at the very least the Rams are in the Detroit tier in the NFC. So yeah, but I think San Francisco, Dallas are just absolutely cooking right now. Baltimore's really good. Like I said, the AFC is praying that Dallas takes care of Buffalo this week. Because if they don't, Buffalo has like the Chargers left on the schedule. They got the Patriots, I think, left on the schedule a second time. I think that's right. And then they play Miami. Like, yeah, if they beat Dallas, Buffalo's getting in and they're going to wreak havoc. Mitch, I think this is the safe pick, and this is where I wanted to go as well. Like, if Buffalo falters and they don't get in, like Kansas City's probably just going to easily work their way to the title game, the AFC title game. Just because like they have the experience, their defense is fine, and Mahomes can Mahomes when he needs to. Like they'll beat Jacksonville. I'm not worried about Kansas City against Miami in January. Like I'm not. I think Kansas City is definitively the third best team in the AFC behind Baltimore and Buffalo. But Kansas City going to Baltimore, they could win the game, but I think Baltimore's defense should be able to handle Kansas City's offense that doesn't really have it right now. Adam says three great QBs, and Devil Magic Shanahan. Purdy's playing good ball. I think we all know he's not elite, but like Purdy's playing really good ball. So Arizona doesn't want to see Kansas City. The problem with Kansas, so this is what I mean. Like the problem the AFC currently has is you like look up and down like the playoff picture, and you're like, if Buffalo doesn't get in, there's a lot of mediocrity right here. Like I like Houston where they're going. They're not beating Kansas City. Jacksonville won't do that. Miami, just like Adam says here, their roster, they're losing guys on the offensive line. Right, Connor Williams gets hurt. That's their center. That's going to be tough to replace. Jalen Phillips going down hurt them a ton too. Like they've got good pieces on defense, and they have the ultimate guy who might be the MVP, the ultimate like game-changing player, Tyreek Hill. But like I just don't think they're going to beat Kansas City. I said already, Jacksonville. Cleveland's not beating Kansas City. Denver, I know they beat them already. It's not happening in the playoffs. So like it's just, yeah, it's just I think the Chiefs are easily better than like the Chiefs are in their own tier, that second tier of the AFC, where they're like, yeah, they'll just take care of business against everybody else. Like if they get a divisional round game against like, if they get with a divisional round against Miami, like they're gonna beat them. If they get Jacksonville, they'll beat them. Like they're gonna take they're not going to struggle with the 7th seed either. So that's the problem. Arizona wants the Cowboys. I think it'd be cool to see Dallas get there. I like Dak. McCarthy gets to the Hall of Fame if he wins another one. So that'd be kind of cool, actually. Buffalo has to win, and Dallas will be who we thought they were. It's possible. I think Dak's on such a heater right now that at some point you're going to get that real nasty game from him. So I don't get that. That it's going to come crashing down. No way. 63-7. Shut up. No, it's not. It is. Oh my gosh. You are kidding me. Do they have a defensive touchdown? Oh, they do. They have a defensive touchdown. That's messed up. Oh my gosh. That's so bad, guys. They're not even running it well. Oh, Mayer has a touchdown. Good for him. Good for him. That's super cool. I like that for him, though. Goodness. Boy, this is as bad a loss as it gets, folks. He's done, man. He is done. He's absolutely done. He's done. He is. It's over. Staley's done. There's no more. They're not letting it go to next week either. He's done. I'm sure Twitter's saying the same thing right now. But like, come on. You can't be to the Raiders. I just saw the pick 6. That's horrible, by the way. That's so bad. There you go, guys. So what a fun show. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about Green Bay. We talked about some preferences at the tackle position. We talked a lot about the receiver position, the draft. We talked a lot about Braylon Allen. That was fun. There's so much to come. I am genuinely super excited. I don't want the season to end. It always stinks when the NFL season ends. It goes so fast. It feels like a snap of the fingers time ago that Brian Branch picked off Mahomes because Kadarius Toney couldn't catch the ball, and we're already in week 15. Like I'm like holding on that it just slows down just a little bit. That would be great, genuinely, because I love the season. I just hate when it's not here. But I love draft season, of course. But it's football's it's awesome. It really is super fun. So Adam says free Herbert, please. That's very fair. I agree. Listen, Ben Johnson's probably getting that job if he wants it. So I think he'll be doing really nice things down there. You get a young coordinator, green and gold draft mentioned Jesse Minter. You bring him in from like Michigan, Ben Johnson, Jesse Minter. You start fixing the Chargers, hopefully, to the point where they can be good again. Because I think we were all kind of like, the Browns are the lovable loser until they signed Voldemort, aka Watson. Right now, I don't think people want to root for them, and I don't either. I got off the train very quickly after that nonsense. But like the Chargers, I think has become everybody's team where they're like, man, they lose a lot of these crappy games. They've done the 3 Hall of Fame QBs in a row. They had Breeze, which counts. They had Rivers, which I think he should be, and they have Herbert, which like they've done that thing 3 in a row. They have nothing to show for it. Like think about that. Like Green Bay's at least got 2 titles. Chargers have nothing. Except Rivers trying to gut it out with an ACL in a championship game. Here's Joy. Let's final comment of the night, and we'll get out of here. Still wishing Adams cuts his losses and wants to come back to Green Bay. Listen, that would be fun, but man, that contract, yeah, like no, I if he takes a pay cut, sure, because him mentoring Wicks would be cool. I think it'd be such a fun receiver room with Adams with those guys. I think Adams would love to be the Donald Driver, quote unquote, in the room. I think that'd be really fun. It'd be really cool. Get you happy, get you excited, right? But yeah, I think it'd be fun. It would definitely be fun, no doubt about it. Mitch, thank you for bringing great questions. Thank you for throwing prospects out there to talk about because again, I could sit here and I do this right for the Packernet Pod for those who know. Like I record podcasts for them, but I'm talking to myself. Right, this is way better, and I love this part of the thing where we're doing live shows. We started doing them in November, which is super cool. Like we've started early, and we're going to culminate with, like I said, I'll be here draft night, and the production will be a lot better than this, where it's not just me talking. We'll have a lot of bells and whistles going around, and so much. It really culminates there, and I'm excited that we can go on this journey to April, because it's going to be a great time, and I love it every year. So thank you guys so much. Adam shouts out Fouts. I like that very much. So I like that a ton. Damn Fouts as well. Chargers have a lot of QBs, so he will be a free agent. Who will be a free Adams? Oh, contract is so fake. Only a 3. Oh, interesting. Chargers always have the Jets. Oh, that's true. Yeah, the Jets. It's true. It's a good point. But yeah, thank you, Mitch and Adam and Airs Joy and Chris for sticking around. It says there are 4 others in here. Whoever you are, awesome. Appreciate you. I know Brian was in here earlier, Brian W. Chris, obviously, thank you for giving. That's much appreciated. Do not have to do that. I know Green and Gold Draft Report was in here. I know Mason and Zach and Smitty stopped by, which was super fun. Antonio was here. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anybody. Lee was in here earlier as well. Like you guys truly make it exceptional, and I enjoy doing it. So thank you guys. I'm gonna take off. We're just about to get that 2 hour mark. But yeah, we'll be back here, I think, next Friday, barring something unseen, which I don't think there should be, but we'll see. I don't know. But hopefully we're Fridays from here on out and we can just kind of chill. Tomorrow, for those who are here really quick before I end the stream, tomorrow, Lucas Van Ness, little something with how the Packers are deploying him that I think is really interesting and something I think he has to grow in. That's gonna be in the film room tomorrow, as well as a look at Patriots finally hitting at receiver with Demario Douglas, which I think was a fun one to put together. So those two will be on the channel tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoy those. And I said it should be another packed week next week. I'm going to try and get ahead of schedule and post some videos on Monday. So thank you guys. Again, Adam, Mitch, Ayers Joy, Chris, thank you all. Appreciate you guys. Think it's another great show. I'm going to get out of here. Have a good night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of this Raiders dominance. And once again, the support means a lot. Subscribe, like this if you want to. And yeah, we'll be back here Friday and bring more questions because hopefully I'll have some prospects. Scott, and we've got some boards to build out. Should be a fun time. So thank you guys. Good night, everybody.